Hi everybody and welcome to the channel. I am Richard. Today I am gonna bring you to a bloody and muddy battlefield where two mighty kings have sent out their generals to find an old ancient artifact holding the key to immortality. I'm gonna show you Tales of War from Raven Games. This is a two-player competitive strategic game where players fight it out against each other. Each battle is about 15 minutes and the whole session is around 30 to 45 minutes. This will be out on Kickstarter on the first half during this year. There will be links down in the description, so don't forget to check them out. The game that I'm going to show you today is a prototype. It's a really well-made prototype, but it's still a prototype. So some things might change, but I'm going to show you an overview of the game. I'm going to show you some of the gameplay here. So let's just take a look at it. In Tales of War, two fantasy armies clashes out against each other on the muddy and bloody battlefield, all to find the Cross of Eternity and eventually gaining immortality. Each battle also has special victory conditions. The player that meets these conditions first is the winner of that battle. At the end of each battle, players will also get a reward card. These cards will pump up your army, giving you special units. And in here, you can also find the Cross of Eternity. If a player finds the Cross of Eternity and wins the next battle, they have won the campaign. Your army is represented by unit tiles, looking like this. You have three types of units. You have the core units, the special units, and the hero units. Before we send our troops out to the muddy battlefield, we need to sort our units, and we do that in these boxes. These pretty little boxes here. The blue army have one and the red army have one. In these boxes you will find two compartments, one to the left and one to the right. In the one to the left you have your core units. In the one to the right you have your special units, your hero, your ice and fire tokens, but also a strategic plant terrain tile. This is only done once and then you are done. That was pretty much the setup of this game. It goes really fast. You place the big board in the middle, you place your objective cards and the reward cards, you sort your box, and like I said, you do this once and then it's over. You also have a little bag here with terrain tiles. I will soon tell you more about them. The first phase of this game is the pre-battle phase. And the first thing you need to do during the pre-battle phase is to give the attack token to the attacking player. Because each battle plays out that one player is the attacker during this battle and the other one is the defender. This time I'm the attacker. The next step in the pre-battle phase is to take up an objective. Of course, you need to shuffle these before you start. Once you take up the objective, you read the corresponding text. This is what the players need to achieve to win this battle. This one, for example, says that each player's army must contain one and only one catapult. Eliminate your opponent's catapult to achieve victory. Down here you also have a text telling you how many terrain tiles there should be in this battle. So once we have read out the objectives and we know how many tiles we should take, each player secretly takes the amount of tiles that the objective card says. This one says 4 tiles each, so I pick up 4 terrain tiles in secret, and then the opponent does the same thing. Once we have done this, the attacker starts by placing 1 tile. After that, the defender places 2 tiles, and then it goes back to the attacker that places 2 tiles. You can place these however you want on the map, but you can't place them in the deployment zone. The deployment zones are the 2 first roads on the map. So this down here is the red deployment zone, and up here is the blue deployment zones, meaning that I can't place my terrain tiles in that area. I must start by placing it out here, for example. Once we have placed out the terrain on the board, it's time for us to start choosing our units from our little unit box here. We should take 7 core units and 1 hero units, and we should pick these secretly, not showing our opponent what we are choosing. You could also choose 3 special units here, but then you would need the reward cards allowing you to use that unit. So in your first game, you won't be able to use special units as you still have not gotten any reward cards. But as the game goes on, you will get more and more reward cards, so you will be able to use these special units. But for now, we should take 7 core units and 1 hero unit. Secretly. Once we are done choosing our units, we start to deploy. The attacker gets to deploy first, and they get to deploy 1 unit on their first deployment. We need to deploy in the deployment zone, so we can't start by deploying any units out on the field, they must be in the deployment zone. Once the attacker have placed their first unit, the defender goes on by placing 2 units. Then the turn goes back to the attacker, and now the attacker gets to place 2 units as well. This is the way it goes on back and forth, each player from now on placing 2 units until all units have been deployed. When you are deploying your units, they need to be facing your enemy. So you can't put them out with the arrow facing right or left or something like that. They need to be pointed straight at your enemy, ready for battle. Once we have deployed our units, we are ready to start battling. On your units, you can see the amount of movements they can do and their range. To the left we have the MP, the movement point, and to the right we have their range. So this archer right here would have a movement of 2 and a range of 4. The blue arrow up here indicates which way she is facing. During your turn you can choose to move. So this would mean that this one here, the archer, could move 1-2 steps up here, using her 2 movement points. But she could also choose to turn, meaning that she could move 1 step, for example, and then turn 45 degrees. Units cannot move through other units or impassable terrain. Terrain with this symbol here, the circle with a cross over it, is impassable. Some units have a range of 0, making them melee units. They can't fire, but they have an ability called charge, meaning that if they charge into an enemy's square, that enemy is immediately eliminated and taken out of the game. Some units can't attack other units straight on. For example, if you have a rider, you can't attack a spearman straight on because, well, they have a spear and they would kill your horse. So you would need to either flank them or hit them from behind. Your ranged units do not charge. Instead, they fire. They can hit whatever is within their range. So this archer here has a range of 4 and would be able to hit the rider over here. But you need a line of fire. Some of the terrain has an eye that is crossed out, meaning that you do not have line of fire beyond this building. But the lake over here, for example, has an eye that is not crossed out. So if the archer would be facing the spearman over here, she would be able to hit him, as she has a line of fire. So some terrain blocks out your unit's line of fire. But you actually do have some units that can fire even though there is a terrain blocking line of fire in the way. You have, for example, the catapult. This one can actually shoot beyond the terrain that's blocking your line of fire, because it shoots above it. And you also have something called parabolic attacks. These are your special units, and they're looking like this. They either have fire in the background or ice. And these are magical attacks. So it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, even if you can't see and you don't have line of fire, you would still be able to do a magic attack on somebody on the other side of the building. But there is one downside here, because even though you can fire through this terrain, your range will be shorter. Meaning that if you have, for example, a range of 4, your range will now be 3 instead. These special units can shoot fire or ice. You have 4 fire and 4 ice tokens that you can use during your battle. Once you have used them, well, they're no more magic for you. These spells can be cast up to the range of this special unit. If an ice tile is hit by a fire tile, both tiles are removed. The same applies to a fire tile. If it is hit by an ice tile, both tiles will be removed. The terrain tiles all have special abilities. The lake, for example, it cannot burn, and if it's frozen, it acts like an ice tile. If the ice melts when there are units on the lake, they are immediately eliminated. And the hills, they will increase range. A ranged unit standing on top of the hill will get +1 range. Flat ranged units standing on the hill tile can target the first or the second enemy unit in the line of fire. You will also get an extra movement point if your unit is starting its movement here and exit the tiles. You will get +1 movement point. Any units must stop immediately when they enter the hill tile. The forest can actually help your units in a good way because your units can hide in here. Units on a forest tile cannot be attacked in any way by anyone outside the forest tile. Any units that enters a forest tile must stop immediately. And mountains cannot burn or freeze. If a unit enters a swamp, they must stop immediately. And if they start their turn on a swamp tile, their movement point is reduced to 1. And if it's frozen, a swamp acts like an ice tile. If the ice tile is melted, units for which the swamp is impassable are immediately lost. Then we have buildings. These ones are impassable, but you can destroy one if you have a catapult, making it leave the map immediately. Then we also have monasteries. They have an extra rule because vampires can't go within 1 tile space from these because they will die. The strategic point tiles are only used in some objectives. They are placed in the deployment area and will let the player deploy here. You can freeze a terrain tile or put it on fire. And even though you are targeting one of the squares, you are affecting the entire terrain piece. If there had been any units on this terrain while it was frozen or put on fire, they would have a chance to escape on their next turn. If they don't manage to escape, well, they die. You can put out a fire by using an ice tile or melt the ice by using a fire tile. If a terrain piece is on fire or frozen, you can't move through it, and it's blocking line of fire. But this does not affect line of fire if it is a swamp or a lake, as you can see over it. As soon as a player reaches the requirements for the objectives in this battle, that player is the winner. Once that have happened, we move into the post-battle phase. This is where we first need to see if we have lost any special units. If we have, we sadly need to remove the reward card for that unit and shuffle it back into the deck. But don't be too sad, because if you won the battle, you get to pick up 2 reward cards and choose one of them, putting the other one back into the deck and reshuffle. And the loser does not go empty-handed either, because they get to take 1 reward card. Now you can choose if you want to play another battle. If you want to play another battle, you simply restart everything. And the defender becomes the attacker, and the attacker becomes the defender. But you can also choose to save your game now, taking all your units and putting it back in the box, along with the reward card that you have just gotten. The replayability of this game is big, as you have a lot of different objectives to take on. Each battle will feel different, and not just because of the objectives, but also because you use different terrains from battle to battle. It will never really feel the same. Also, the reward cards here gives you a big difference in what unit you can use. The rulebook here is quite easy to understand and quite well written. There's really no questions on what you can do or cannot do. It all just makes sense, and there's clear pictures all of the way through it, telling you all of the different skills and different abilities of buildings and also your units. So this one should be no hassle at all to understand how to play the game. The artwork in this game is really beautiful and well made. You can really see that the artists have put down the hours to really get the feel right. And everything feels like it belongs together. You never really see an artwork that feels out of place or weirdly made. Everything is in detail, really well planned, and it really puts you right in the middle of this era and this time where you are gonna fight out the epic battles. There you have it, people. That was Tales of War for you from Raven Games, a two-player strategic game. And this one has a lot of things going for it. The gameplay runs really, really smooth. It's not that hard to learn. The artwork is just really, really beautiful. And this is one of the best two-player games that I have played. It's really, really cool. It's really fun, and there's a lot of replayability in it. Your different small units, the different objectives really makes this game be able to play it many, many times. This game is quite cool. So if you're into two-player strategic games, you need to check this one out. There will be links down in the description for everything. Like I said, the Kickstarter comes out early 2022, so be sure to check that one out. If you like this video, people, please give me a thumbs up. If you like this channel, please subscribe to it. It gives me a smile on my lips every time. And until next time, people, please take care of each other and keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace.